I know you're tired. I know you're hurting. I wish I could say something classy and inspirational, but that just wouldn't be our style. Pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever. Welcome to the Hey You Guys podcast and our third episode in the American sports series. I'm Rob, that's Liam, and this week we're suiting up for 2000's The Replacement, a film that kicks harder than half-drunk Welshmen with gambling debts and a dream. With Keanu Reeves leading the charge as Shane Falco, the brooding quarterback whose scruffy charm somehow survives being dunked in Chesapeake Bay, and Gene Hackman playing the crusty coach who knows that hope can be built from the bottom of the league reject pile. This film hits all the classic sports comedy beats. The Replacement isn't just slapstick and shoulder pads, it's a playbook for what NFL films would soon embrace. Slow-mo hero shots, emotional close-ups, rain-soaked glory. This movie stylized football in ways that real-life sports coverage soon started borrowing. If you've ever watched a fourth quarter comeback framed like a gladiator battle, you might just owe Shane Falco a thank you. Oh, and speaking of unsung heroes, let's talk Nigel the Leg Gruff, the chain-smoking kicker. Not only does he steal scenes and score from midfield, but he's from Cardiff, just like Liam and I. So if that isn't a sign that greatness carries a flag with a dragon on it, then I don't know what is. So come on, lace up, light one up for Nigel, and get ready to revisit the comedy, the chaos, and the cinematic charm of a film that proves sometimes the best players aren't the ones picked first, they're the ones who show up when everyone else walks out.
Oh, how very poetic of you. How very poetic.
I did trip over a bunch of wood. That's like the nicest thing I've ever written, and I tripped over everything. Like too much grammar.
That's okay. We only do one takes on this podcast, so it's absolutely fine. But yeah, Rhys Evans does kind of steal the show. I'm not saying that just because he's from Cardiff. Although I like the fact that Cardiff does get a couple of mentions, but I'm not convinced most people on this film knows what Wales is. There's like a scene where the coach is asking him, it's like, is he in shape? And Gene Hackman responds, by Welsh standards. And there's someone in the background just going, just laugh and pretend you know what a Wales is. Okay. And the movie does have a few too many of those, I must admit.
I was going to ask about that. Is that insulting to us, by the way?
I couldn't give a shit. Like, the rest of the world's getting better with Wales. This is 2000. Like the last few times I've been to America, in fairness, I was genuinely surprised how many Americans I spoke to have been to Wales now. Not just heard of Wales, but been to Wales.
Yeah.
But I've run into people in the past when I've gone abroad, and they've said, you start chatting, they're like, where are you from? And I've said Wales, and they just look at me blankly. And I was just like, England, yeah. It's like Scotland, yeah. Ireland, yeah. And I was like, just in between in Wales. And they just, oh, well, never mind. It's a country, I assure you. I'm not convinced most people know what Wales is in this country. In this movie. The one thing I will say as well about Wales is that Gene Hackman might be one of the greatest actors of his generation. The one thing he can't do, however, is a fucking Welsh accent. It's terrible. Not the worst Welsh accent I've ever heard. That still belongs to an audio book reading of Neil Gaiman's, what was the one they turned into a TV show? Something Gods? It was like it had like three American Gods.
American Gods, sorry, yeah.
There's one bit where one of the characters is supposed to be Welsh, and it is ungoddamn believable. If you want to hear there's only one worse accent I think I've heard, and it was recently. There is a film on Amazon at the moment, which is really popular, but it's rubbish, unsurprisingly, with John Cena and Idris Elba, where they play the president. And
I loved that. I thought that film was funny. I enjoyed that film.
You're absolutely wrong. It's terrible. But the one thing that stood out for me in that film is Paddy Considine. I was watching it. I was just like, wait, where is he supposed to be from? My wife told me he was Russian. The movie told me he was Russian. I still looked it up because I'm like, that's not Russian. And the thing is, because of the kind of movie it is, he could go broad as fuck, and it's just not Russian. It's unbelievably, unspeakably bad. And I'm also surprised you like that movie. It's fine. I'm giving it shit.
I like John Cena. I like
he did
one with Jackpot with Awkwafina from.
Yeah.
I like the fact he's so self-deprecating about it. He'll take the piss out of himself all day long. I enjoyed it. I thought for what it was enjoyable. But this isn't the Heads of State podcast. This
it's not. It's
Replacement podcast. I mean, hearing somebody say Wiry that doesn't have a Welsh accent isn't. I'll try and
he keeps saying it. It's like he keeps trying. Wiry. It's like, we're not Irish. What are you doing, dude?
I love the Pilachowski as well trying to do it, where he goes, and the best thing I can say about our defensive weapon, our one defensive weapon, is it's wiry. What the shit is that?
I guess he is kind of wiry, which is just a nice way of saying skinny and out of shape, I suppose. But and the thing is with this movie, you can feel that it's trying to get on the kind of like, oh, what's popular at the moment. And you get like Jon Favreau's character, who is clearly just the water boy. It's just the water boy. Like, it's not even like subtle. And Rhys Evans, somebody's seen him in, at first I was like, oh, somebody's seen him in Twin Town. I was like, dude, they're probably more likely to have seen him in Notting Hill the year before.
I have to ask, are you saying Evans?
Rhys Evans. Ifans.
Yeah. Ifans, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to overdo it with the pronunciation.
Do it properly.
This is a Welsh podcast. Rhys Ifans in Twin Town, set in Swansea. No, I'm going to tone that down a little bit. Although, funny story, complete aside, but in my third year of university, I wrote an exam paper on Twin Town, having never seen the movie, and I got a 2-1. So that's my connection to that movie. I was just like, I just blagged it completely. I was just like, I've never seen the movie, but I'm like, I get the gist. I've seen the trailer, wrote an entire paper on it, and got a 2-1. So, that's something.
Do you want my connection to the movie, if we're going connections?
Go for it.
The street where Dougray Scott runs into the kids playing in the band.
Mm-hmm.
Street I lived in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was it shot in Cardiff, I assume?
No. So I am Cardiff. Mm-hmm. Born in Neath, raised in Swansea for 10 months.
Oh, I'm finding out something new about you. Yeah. But I love you say I am Cardiff. Not I'm from Cardiff. I am Cardiff.
I am Cardiff.
I am Cardiff. But yeah, like it was to bring it back to the movie and that point in particular, there are a few moments in this film which are quite cheesy. I mean, no pun intended, this movie does fumble the emotional beats from like pretty much start to finish. And you get a lot of moments where they're going for something funny, somewhere between funny and emotional, and they cut to a character's face and they have that kind of cheesy, almost like advert style laugh, like, oh, okay. And then it just cuts away. I'm like, oh, that doesn't work, even if it's Gene Hackman. It's just bad directing. And this film does have a few of those moments.
The other thing that they stumble, and I didn't really pick up on it a lot until this episode, which we say a lot on this podcast, but was the sense of time. Mm-hmm. They've got 4 weeks to be together, but it all goes so quickly. You just don't like. They meet each other, and then the next scene, they're all best friends, and it's just like, okay, for us that was 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. For the film, apparently, that was a week apart. Mm-hmm. It just the sense of time was weird. And again, sports films, the relationship between Shane Falco and Annabelle Farrell. Was a bit weird. I tell you what was weirder though. I was alright with our relationship. Weirder was Martell, who played by Brett Cullen, Eddie Martell. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, and I'm skipping towards the end, turns around to Falco and says, "Don't drag her down with you. She deserves better." Where was that love triangle interest that came out of fucking nowhere?
Yeah, it's weird, and that's one of the major issues of this film. Like, because as you mentioned in the intro, this is like the third part of our American sports season of podcast. So of course we're going through like similar tropes over and over again because they're all sports movies. But one thing that the other two movies had an issue with, and that was the Mighty Ducks and Hoosiers, is that because you have invariably put an emphasis on one part of the narrative, everything else kind of pays the price. So, you put the emphasis on Gene Hackman, for instance, in Hoosiers, quite wisely because it's Gene Hackman. But then all of a sudden, other things just have to be sped up in the background. This movie almost asks the question, what would happen if you didn't put the narrative emphasis on anything? So because they set the net too wide, nothing gets the time it deserves. And I mean, this sounds like I'm being repetitive from previous weeks. Usually we're saying, oh, well, the emphasis is there, so these narrative aspects kind of fall by the wayside. In this movie, everything feels like it slightly falls by the wayside. For one, I still don't know if this is Gene Hackman's or Keanu Reeves' movie. This, the story really should be the scabs and the fact that this is based on a true story. So it was loosely based on the 1987 NFL strike with the Washington Redskins. That's why the team is Washington. I know it's fake, for licensing reasons, even though that they're clearly playing their games at, I think it's the M&T arena in Baltimore. So this is filmed largely. It's the Baltimore.
It was filmed in Maryland. I know that.
Yeah, it was the Baltimore Ravens. That's the stadium they use. But they wanted the team to be Washington because of the direct reference to the Washington Redskins. But that whole story is really interesting, but even in the movie, it's not as interesting as it was in real life. So in the real story, the replacement team came in for 3 games. They won all 3. They made the playoffs. Then the whole team obviously came back over the picket line. And that team, the Redskins in 1987, went on to win the Super Bowl. And you're like, well, that's an amazing story. They don't do that in this movie. So it's not really about the whole scabs coming in for 3 days. It's not really about Gene Hackman's role as, and they're clearly going for a whole Tom Landry thing with him, with the hat and the suit, like this old-fashioned coach. It's kind of about Falco, but is it about his relationship with Annabelle? That kind of falls by the wayside. They try and add some, I don't know, drama and stakes towards the end of the film, so you get the stuff with Rhys Evans and the gangsters and, you know, the kind of the cop and the inmates and all that jazz. That stuff's all there. None of it is dealt with in a kind of interesting way at all.
You don't get any. You get the like the beginning with Rhys Ifans, where the gangsters come up to him and say, "You've taken all our money."
Mm-hmm.
Then he's done 2 games. He's on the 3rd game. The guy goes, "He better start missing some kicks if he wants to keep his pub." Don't say anything else to him, by the way, that we know of. Show up at the game, just wave at him, as if to say, as if hinting that he needs to miss the kick.
They all stand up. It's like, you know, the 3 gangsters from the Simpsons. They literally look like that. They're just standing there in the crowd, like, you better miss that kick, Mr. Evans. It's like, it comes out of absolutely fucking nowhere.
You said as well about like the cop and the prisoner and things like that. How ironic is it, right? That what was his name? Wilkinson, played by Michael Jace, is a prisoner who's yeah, you know where I'm going with this.
Oh,
who is a prisoner who is released to play football, but he is now currently serving 40 years to life. I'm laughing because of the irony. I'm not laughing because of the crime.
Absolutely, that's fair enough.
For murdering his wife.
Yeah, it's art imitating life, or life imitating art, whichever way you want to look at it. Yeah, that's a hell of a story. And his character is actually another one where towards the end of the film, like out of nowhere, he scores a touchdown. A character, let's be clear, we don't give a fuck about, puts his knee out, and the way he grabs Falco, it's like, did I make it over, Falco? Make sure I can. Like, he's talking to Falco like he's about to die.
I wasn't the same character.
I was like, wait, he's not going to die, is he? It's like he's just hurt his knee.
That wasn't Wilkinson, by the way.
It wasn't even Wilkinson. No, Jesus Christ.
That was the priest, wasn't it? You praise his glory, Nigel. You praise him. That was that God. Dude.
He completely fell by the wayside, and that's what I mean, because he was. And it seems racist on my part for me to mix those two up. But because he's completely a background character, I just kind of assumed in the moment that. I said, oh, well, it must be the dude who's going to prison because he has the whole thing with Jon Favreau's character. Obviously not the case. No. Orlando Bloom's character, Orlando Jones.
Yeah.
They kind of try and make him a thing, but again, it doesn't really work, the comedy.
It was just the whole thing with him. Like, that was one of my most disliked characters. Was everything about that guy, from hiding in the bar fight to not being able to catch. He finally catches it because he jacked off an elephant, apparently. And then all of a sudden, because he caught it once because he had the sticky, he can catch every ball going. And then when they say good catch, he's like, I got skills. No, you haven't got skills, mate. It's just lucky at this point.
But then, I mean, no, it's just cheating. He says at one point, he's like, I don't want to go to football prison for this. I'm like, well, if football prison's a real thing, you're absolutely going to football prison.
No, but after that, I mean, after that. Sorry, so after the, like in the final game, he's catching everything that's thrown at him all of a sudden. But then because he caught that one ball because of the sticky stuff, he's then like acting like he's the best thing since sliced bread. Like the way he talks to the, I was going to say receptionist, to the reporter in the...
Oh, yeah.
And then the way he's dancing at the end zone pub. The end zone bar. It's all cringe with him. Like, he was my least favorite character.
Well, it's one of those things. My issue with this film is when the comedy goes particularly broad, and the tone in this film is a little bit back and forth, so much so that the score really feels like it needs to let you know. It's a weird film because the soundtrack is awesome, and we'll get to the soundtrack in a minute, because like so many things in this film, it's so specifically 2000. This film might be the most 2000 film ever made, but the score underlying so many of the scenes is garbage, and it's so heavy-handed. Like, oh, well, this is a romantic scene, so it goes really heavy on the romance. This is a goofy comedy scene, so it goes right the other way. And it's actually one of my least favorite things about this film is the score is just inherently bad. But
I had that written. Sorry, I had that written down as well. The musical cues, I think they're over the top.
Oh, they
It's like,
totally are.
this is a sad scene, feel sad. This is a happy scene, feel happy. It's like, oh my
It
God, yeah.
just doesn't
You have
have the
spoon
score doesn't
feeding.
have any confidence in the
No.
screenplay at all. But yeah, Orlando Jones is a weird one because he's not very good in this. I don't think it's his fault, but he had like a brief period around the turn of the century when it felt like he could be a big star. Like he was in remember Evolution? That was supposed to
Evolution,
be like
yeah.
a big. I got
Yeah.
a real soft spot for Evolution, and he's actually good in that. And he was in Bedazzled with Brendan Fraser, another film which was supposed to be a big hit, didn't really land. And I'm not sure if you remember the series. I'm sure you've seen it. 2003's Biker Boys with a Z. I just feel like there's like an alternative universe where we're on Biker Boys X and Orlando Jones has just gone to space on a motorbike. But sadly, it didn't work out. It was not the Fast and Furious competitor we were expecting.
Well, they had two at that time, didn't they? They had Biker Boys, which was more drama with Lawrence Fishburne or Larry Fishburne, however you want to. But they did have the Fast and Furious style one called. Do you remember Torque?
I do remember Torque. Yes.
Yeah, that was the one where you would expect it to be Fast or
In
Torque
fairness,
9.
yeah, that one is probably
they,
more likely.
They did things with a bike that you didn't think possible, like riding on the top of a freight train, like racing a freight train. Like I think one of them had a jet engine and broke the sound barrier, and the guy was fine.
Maybe
But he
that was
still
the
couldn't
film we
catch up.
need to see. You know, it was like, let's be clear, like Fast and Furious didn't really find its footing until the fifth film. So, you know, maybe Torque just wasn't given the opportunity to become the series it could have been. But yeah, to bring it back to this movie, and it is something you mentioned earlier, and I kind of went off on one as I often do. One of the biggest misses with this film is the Martel and Falco controversy in this film. I say controversy because it's not really there. Is similar to that of the controversy between Doug Williams and Jay Schroeder, which was, you know, to bring it back to the real story in the Redskins in 1987. It's bizarre that kind of comes to fruition towards the end of the film and isn't really dealt with in a meaningful way. Because Martel in this film is a top tier asshole. Beyond the fact that, you know, as we mentioned, Brett Cullen, who plays Martel, was 44 when he made this film and looks about 54. So I don't know quite why they picked him out of a crowd. But he's a fantastic villain in this film. And I do like the scenes between him and Keanu. But the scene you mentioned earlier towards the end where they're talking about Annabelle and there's the suggestion that he has an interest in her. It just comes completely out of nowhere. And it's another part of the film where it's just like, why didn't you make that the emphasis? And I actually think one of the biggest issues with this film, and God bless Keanu, you can see why he did it. He actually took a major pay cut in this film so they could get Gene Hackman on board. But as soon as you get Gene Hackman on board, you kind of have to have Gene Hackman in this film. You know what I mean? And it just brings the emphasis away from the story, which should have been Keanu and the team. And I was just like, it just keeps jumping around. And I'm watching the film. It's fine. It's entertaining. It hits the usual plot points. I just don't care about anything that happens in this movie, sadly.
No, that's the point. Like, just there are no emotional beats. It's still a great film. I have so much fun with this film. I will say that. Like, it'll represent in my score. But in regards to like, there's no emotional beats. I don't feel again for the love connection between Annabelle and Keanu. Shane Falco, probably because it's done so haphazardly and quick. Like it
Well, I just, as soon as you say that, I immediately think to their kind of first little moment together where she drives it, you know, the whole thing with Annabelle.
Like a fucking getaway driver.
Why though? Why? It has nothing to do with anything. Why she drives, and not just like, oh, she's driving a bit fast. She drives like a fucking crackhead driving away from the police. And just like, why did that happen? There's nothing to back it up. There's no like, oh, I work in a garage. I used to be a race car driver. It's like, no, we're just going to drive like a fucking lunatic and then end. No reference to this whatsoever again. The one thing I will say is as much as it is rushed, I totally forgot how awesome the sequence between Keanu and Annabelle is at her bar. So, like I said, Annabelle does the usual cliche thing. Oh, I don't date footballers. But, you know, despite the fact that it's Keanu Reeves in 2000, he's super handsome and really friendly. And she's, let's be clear, keen as fuck. She keeps driving in places. She shows up at his house to give him a massage. Like, what the fuck is going on here? And when they have their moment at the bar, I mentioned the fact that they just kind of, this movie like cherry picks from things that were popular around the time. It clearly goes for the Friends Series 1 Ross and Rachel scene, where he goes to walk out of the cafe and then turns around and kisses her. And I was like, oh, this is cheesy. But then they bring in the Madden commentary, and I was like, oh, this is actually genius. Like, that seems fucking awesome because of the Madden commentary. It is legitimately awesome to the point where I'm a little concerned that Madden might start commentating on my sex life. I don't want that to start becoming a thing, but it might just fucking happen.
Oh my God. I'm going to look at the AI now. I'm going to look at the AI. I mean, to be fair, I don't know when you have sex, so I can't time this properly. But I just want to look at the AI where I could sort of pump some music into your bedroom and Madden's just commentating on your sex.
On the sex life. And that's the other thing we've not mentioned in this film. You know, is Madden the best movie? Right, no, because the answer to this is no, because the correct answer is Bob Uecker in Major League. But Madden has some absolutely fantastic lines in this. Don't do anything great if you can under the congratulations. I love to see a fat guy score. Then you see a fat guy celebration and a fat guy dance. And my personal favorite is just like, he seems to be necking with that cheerleader. He just makes all these ridiculous lines kind of work for the movie. He still has a few too many. And again, it's not his fault. He has a few too many Basil exposition moments where he's explaining what's happened, but that's just true of most sports movies.
Before you get called out, because we usually get called out, the necking with the cheerleader thing wasn't Madden. That was his partner. What was it? Wilson Carr?
I thought that was Madden. My apologies.
No, because he says he seems to be necking with that cheerleader. Does he say it? And he goes,
"That's
not allowed."
Madden.
No, yeah. So Madden says, "Is he necking?" The other guy goes, "Well, that's not allowed." And he goes, "What are they going to do? Fire him?"
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure Madden says.
Oh, yeah. I take it back. I take it back.
I love that. So if listeners aren't calling me out, you're gonna fucking call me out.
I'll call you out all day long. I think
even if it's inaccurate, that's
the basis of our friendship, isn't it? You talking forever, me calling you out.
But I mean, we referenced it briefly earlier, but the fact that this movie is so incredibly 2000. If you have any doubt, as soon as the movie starts, the first thing you hear is the band Lit.
Lit. I love
Lit. Possibly, I like Lit, but they might be the quintessential 2000 band. If you look up just a picture of Lit, they just look 2000s as fuck. But it's a whole bunch of things. There's disposable cameras, just about everything about Brooke Langton's character, Annabelle. Annabelle, is that her name?
Yeah, Annabella. Oh, Annabelle.
Annabelle. No seatbelts in that car. She drives like a fucking lunatic for no reason whatsoever.
By the looks of it, it was just some fucking truck.
But don't bother with seatbelts. Casual racism, no respect for concussions. Watching a game on a portable TV. Rhys Evans smoking all the time. Gary Glitter on the soundtrack. Ooh, you're not getting that anymore. Tons of roughing the passer and so many unnecessary roughness calls. This game is just it's just so unrecognizable from the modern game. Like, no one in this film obviously has heard of concussion protocol or CTE or anything like that. The film is essentially established on the fact that the owner hates that Martell slides instead of going headfirst into a tackle. Every quarterback does that. Other than maybe Josh Allen, who's a bit of a psycho, every quarterback in that situation now is sliding onto his knee not to take the hit. But in this film, it's just like, this whole team's a piece of shit. He's a fucking pussy. Get him off the field.
I'd call Martell a pussy for doing that as well, just because of his face. I just don't like him.
He is a horrendous bellend. But in his band of fucking dickheads who just kind of just wander around with him. I don't know what the score is.
I know you're on strike, and I know you're not happy that they brought in replacements, but they brought in replacements for the 3 games. Sooner or later, because you're under contract, you're going to go back because it'll be too expensive to buy you out your contract. Maybe stay at home. You don't really need to go and intimidate the guys that are just trying to keep your team alive for a bit.
Yeah, it's very strange, and it's another element of this film which is poorly explained. Like, it's never really explained at any point if the other teams are on strike or if it's just Washington. And then later on in the film,
no, they do explain that the other teams are on strike because when she's driving like an absolute fucking lunatic, she's explaining to him about one of the guys, and she said, so-and-so quarterback is for the team you're playing is going to cross over. How do you know that? I'm friends with the head cheerleader over there, so she's told me.
Okay.
And then I think it was Detroit all crossed the line, so they were playing the full Detroit team.
Got you. I see. I totally went over my head, but it's like later on when Martell crosses the line, but then the rest of the players don't. So he goes back in, but the rest of them, and like he goes straight into the starting lineup. It appears again the whole thing about the passage of time. As far as we're concerned, he's not taking a single snap with his new players. And then at the end of the movie, obviously halfway through the game, Falco just shows up, despite that he's clearly not in the squad. He's not been named in the squad. He's at home on his boat. And then he just rolls up the stadium and they're just like, yeah, get him in the fucking game. I'm like, I don't think that flies. But this has got like a whole bunch of weird football moments. Like, I'm pretty sure the quarterback doesn't spot field goals. I don't know another fucking quarterback who's on special teams as well. It's a bizarre choice. But
well, they skipped special teams, didn't they? That's what they said. We'll skip special teams for now because it'll be hard filling the team. So basically, they're doing a lot of the other jobs. I'm giving this film too much credit, but they're giving them a lot of the other jobs.
You make a good point.
The other thing to mention is what happened. So the players go on strike, but the coaches, because the Sentinels clearly had a coach before he brought McGinty in. Is McGinty now head coach forever, or is he a replacement coach?
Again, they kind of hinted like he's just brought in, but like you said, there's no big kind of like threat there where it's like, well, you've got to win these games, otherwise you don't get to keep the job, and this is your last chance in the position, whatever. It's just like, well, you're just kind of here now. So, and they try and add again. We had the same issue with Mighty Ducks, where a previously apparently benevolent owner suddenly has to become a douchebag to make the narrative work.
Yeah.
So it's like the owner, he seems to be totally on board. It's like, oh, the Martel and these players are a bunch of prima donnas. I want to bring in this old school coach who's going to, train up these, these scabs, which is a cool idea. That's one of the things that is not so, I guess, kind of like cliched about this film. The fact that they are scabs and they are celebrated is something a little bit different. And even Gene Hackman's character, he's not the kind of traditional shouty, screamy coach. He's actually quite mild-mannered as far as lovely coaches go. But there's no kind of threat there. It's just like, well, just coach the team and we'll just see what happens. And there's the whole thing, oh, well, if you win the 3 of the 4 games, you go to the playoffs. But there's no kind of sense that, oh, this is going to benefit you in any meaningful way. It's like with the last game, it's like, well, if you make it, yeah, the team will go to the playoffs, but it'll just be the other team. You guys are still going to fall into the back. So again, I just don't feel like the narrative, the emphasis of the narrative never feels like it's in the right place. It just feels like it's spread out all across the film. And again, it comes back to the same issue. Nothing really matters, sadly.
Well, yeah, again, because it's not so much about the narrative as well, but like with the writing and stuff. But you look at, like we've already mentioned, in Michael Jace's character, Earl Wilkinson, aka Ray Smith, who is in prison for a violent attack. He punched a cop or whatever he did. There's been some weird deal made with the state of Maryland, or the state of Washington, where he can be released into the care of Jimmy McGinty and the Washington Sentinels. But then
it is the state of Maryland. Washington's in Maryland.
Okay, sorry.
And then Washington State's up in the Northwest.
Yeah. Okay, well then that's fine. And so he's released into their care, which is great, fantastic. But then shouldn't he have a copper with him all times? Because he's they let him go and drink. They let him just fuck off and do whatever. He's in the bar fight. He's been arrested again. Wouldn't that automatically mean he's back in prison? Because they're going to run his fingerprints and go, fuck me, you meant to be in Juliet or whatever it is. What the fuck are you doing here? Have you escaped?
It's very strange again, and I assume they've just gone there to have that narrative because of the time and everything. It's like, oh well, the cop and the prisoner, they learn to respect each other. It doesn't really show up on screen. You get one moment right at the end of the film when they kind of just nod to each other as if to say you're okay, but there's also never any real understanding that they have a problem with each other because one's a cop and one's a prisoner, and that that's not to mention the fact, as you said, there should be a whole storyline about him playing despite the fact that he should be in prison. Like you said, the bar fight's a perfect example. Once they go back to prison because of the bar fight, somebody's like, dude, this guy's supposed to be doing 20 to life. What the fuck is he doing playing football for a National Football League team? It's absolutely bananas. Although I will say this, I did actually really enjoy the bar fight. I thought...
Oh, the bar fight was good. The whole, forget about the red shirt thing. And everything.
Yeah, in terms of marrying up the tone of the movie, the sports movie cliches, and the sense of comedy, I thought that scene probably did it best. And then it is immediately undermined when Orlando Jones does his little dance number in the prison. In the prison,
yeah. But when Jamal or Andre, I can't remember which Jackson brother did it, but in that bar fight, when he slammed into a guy and the guy flew and landed on patrons in the bar. And those patrons just they fucking blew up. The table blew up. Like I thought, Jesus Christ, you killed that guy.
He did look quite dead.
Yeah.
That's the thing that upset me. Do you know what upset me most in this movie is while I think that having a sumo wrestler in your offensive line as a pass blocker is actually a really good idea. Like that's what sumo wrestling is. It's pushing people around. So perfect for a pass blocker. When he eats all those eggs and then pukes on the football field. I'm just like, as he's eating them, I'm just like, dude, this is not going to end well. I still, to this day, remember I ate lasagna and then got called out to play football. And I didn't even think about it. And then after running for like 10 minutes, it was like the lasagna was in my mouth again. It was so genuinely upsetting. And him, like, fair play, when he pukes on the field, it's not like comedy puke. It's like puke. It's not quite as like egregious as say something like Stand By Me or oh god, what was that film? The one where everybody shits themselves and pukes all over the boat. Oh my god. Triangle of Sadness. Triangle of Sadness. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that film.
No, what's that film?
It's a very strange film, largely very good, but there is like a really bizarre tonal shift about halfway through that film. And it's a long movie where everybody on the boat shits themselves and pukes everywhere. And it is one of the grossest scenes I have ever seen in my life. You know, like Stand By Me, it's like a bit of a tonal shift but it makes sense because he's telling a story. And then because he's telling a story, they're able to go like completely OTT with the guy puking everywhere.
Yeah.
This isn't that. This is like in movie. But, you know, it's a dark comedy for the most part. And then like halfway through, the director's gone, I'm fucking really going to go for this. And everybody on the boat, and one of the genius things that they did on the movie, my wife was actually talking about on the weekend, was that there was like a device attached to everyone. So suddenly they would like all this liquid would come out of their mouth and they were puking. But they didn't tell the actors when it was going to happen. So all the reactions were that much more realistic. So yeah, anyway, it's... The Triangle of Sadness is worth watching, and it has one of the more disturbing puking and pooping scenes. I'm not sure if that's really, you know, that's not a way of selling it in particular, but yeah, anyway, puking in this film, very upsetting. But that brings us to, and we did reference it earlier, the kind of lazy racism, should we say? The fact that the supposedly Japanese pass blocker is actually from Hawaii. His name is Ace Yonamine. In the film, he's called Jumbo Fumiko, which doesn't make any sense because Fumiko isn't a last name. It's a woman's first name. But sure, nobody's doing due diligence on this film whatsoever. He keeps just inexplicably shouting Nandeska. I was like, wait, I know what Nandeska means. It means, what is this?
Yeah.
So he's just constantly shouting, what is this? And then everyone else starts shouting, what is this? And I'm like, did nobody stop and think, what the fuck does this mean? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, he probably had like a Japanese translator or something because obviously he's Hawaiian, as you said. Mm-hmm. And the guy just probably came up, looked him, went down, and went Nandeska, like gestured to him. Yeah. What is this? And then he just used it for his.
It sounds interesting, but in fairness, I think they were doing about as much due diligence on this movie as the team were when they were hiring cheerleaders, which is another thing I simply do not understand in this film.
Although, to be fair,
they need to hire apparently, and this isn't very PC, but like retarded cheerleaders, I do not understand at all.
To be fair, I would hire the strippers over the women that auditioned. The one who managed to bring a knife through security, okay. The other one, Texas Oranges, California, wherever she was singing, and the weird quarterback woman. Yeah, I mean, I'm not hiring any of them. I'm definitely not hiring the woman who wants to put people's blood all over her. So I'd probably hire the strippers. Hey, David Denham, who is a bigger actor these days, but this was his first film. He played Brian Murphy, the deaf guy. He was happy with the one stripper, wasn't he? Her sign language was out of this world.
He certainly was. And, you know, you get to have, again, the broad comedic scene when they start dancing on the sidelines like strippers and you see all the guys reacting to something. You're just like, would guys really react like that? And I'm like, yeah, they would. I'm not sure if you've seen the clip, but I saw this video and it was like, LA Dodgers reacting to Jung Jong-so opening pitch. So like they had a Korean series. They have it before the start of the season where they play in Japan, they play in Korea, and they play competitive games over there. So I think in Japan it was like the Dodgers versus the Cubs, and it might be Dodgers versus whoever. And they play 3 like league games. So they count towards the league total, but they'll play them in Korea. And I thought it was going to be a video where Jung Jong Song is like an absolute murderer. You know, she throws out the opening pitch and it's just really good and they're all impressed. Her opening pitch isn't up to fucking anything. The reason they're all reacting like absolute assholes is because she's smoking hot. Yeah. It's just like, it's literally them just all looking over going, oh my God, she is so hot. And they're the players. There's no like subtlety to it whatsoever. And it's just that reminder. It's like, whether it be 2000 or 2025, guys are just dogs. We're just dogs. It's absolutely fun.
I don't want to carry on that cliche, but say her name slowly again so I can type it into Google.
You would spell it as Jeon.
Yeah.
Then Jong, and then SEO. And put in Jung Jong So at and Dodgers.
Yeah.
In fairness, when she goes out and throws that pitch, good God, she looks fantastic. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah. Okay. New wallpaper. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, she does look quite good. But yeah, it's weird when the football actually starts, and we will eventually get to this, the actual football, because you reference it in the intro, the fact that, you know, modern football broadcast took so much from the way that this movie was shot, and it is largely shot brilliantly. You know, we can all laugh at the fact that, you know, it's so much more violent and football's changed, blah blah blah. The only issue with this film and the way it's shot is the fact that clearly they didn't have enough budget or the technology at the time to do many CG shots for the crowd. So many of the shots are ultimately determined by the fact that they obviously couldn't fill out the stadium in Baltimore. So everything is shot from this weird, almost isometric angle, so they just don't have to show empty seats. And it's a bit of a shame because the football is otherwise pretty good. Although I will say, when they have their first game and they lose by like you said, they've only been playing together for a few weeks. The other team, all the other players have come back across the picket line. Yeah, so they're playing Detroit, was it? I think you said. Yeah. They're playing a full-strength Detroit team. They're a bunch of players who've just been dragged off the street, ostensibly, put together for 4 weeks, and now they're playing a competitive NFL game. And they lose on the last fucking play of the game, and they give themselves such a hard time. And Martin and his cronies like show up like, oh, fucking well done with the game. I'm like, yeah, well done. You had a really good effort. The only thing I will say is the audible call by Keanu at the end of the game is terrible. I know he gets like a dressing down from Hackman, like, you know, what is it? Winners always want the ball when the game is on the line. But his audible call, I know the running back eventually got to within a few inches of the line, but he had to run through a defender to get there. It was a horrible audible call. It was like the opposite of Seattle calling a pass play at Super Bowl 49 against the Patriots. That probably means nothing to you. Basically, Seattle, they had a chance to win the game, to win the Super Bowl with the last play of the game, and they had, like, the Patriots just could not stop their running game. And they had that classic movie, and that's why American movies are so well suited. American sports are so well suited to movies.
Yeah.
It's like, you can see it. There are 2 seconds left on the clock. Seattle have got the ball. They're 5 yards out. And it's just like, well, they either get over the line or they don't. And it's that perfect cinematic moment. And the Patriots could not stop their running game. And they inexplicably ran a pass play instead, and they picked them off, and they obviously lost the game. And it feels a bit like that, and it's just like, dude, just run it over the line. But anyway, I just thought, other than that, everyone gave them a really hard time for what appeared to be a really good fucking effort in that first game.
I did, like, as much as this film, because it is an American football sports film, and I've already said in my intro, as you said, but the American football, I think, was done great. I think the sports, the action and stuff like that, I thought really good. The team looked like they were gelling towards the second and third games. Really good. They gave everybody their moment to shine. Nigel kicked what would ostensibly be a record-breaking kick at that point, because I think the kick before that was like 63 yards, and he's kicked a 65-yarder, so...
Yeah, I was going to say, they're quite casual about his 65-yard field goal, which was 1 yard short of the current NFL record. So that's of all time, kicked by Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens, funny enough. So it would have been in the same stadium. But I was just like, everyone's just like, yeah, go for it. Let's just go for the 65-yard field goal when you have other options. Like usually it's like, you're like, well, it's like fourth down and we're just, rather than punt, we think we might have a shot. So we'll lose field position, but we're going to go for the field goal because he's got it in his legs. You would never, if you've got a genuine other option as they did, nobody's kicking a 65-yard fucking field goal, but it is what it is. You need it for the drama, I suppose.
The other thing that really took me out of this film was randomly Risa fans as a Welshman talking to people about like American football, like he's watched it all his life. I lost a bunch of money with you on that Sugar Bowl disaster. You could smell the stink back in Wales. Like, so were you in Wales when Sugar Bowl happened in '96? And if you were you really watching the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, I'm going to go on the assumption because he's playing over there that he now lives in America.
Oh,
And
he
he's
lives
just
there.
using
He lives there
Wales.
now because he's on about they're going to take my pub away. He lives there now, but the way he spoke, like you
I
could
know
smell
what
it
you
back in
mean.
Wales.
Yeah.
He was living in Wales at the time.
It's a bit of a deep cut. Like, in fairness, especially nowadays, people will watch and bet on some pretty obscure shit. But yeah, how many people are watching the Sugar Bowl in Wales in like what would have been not even 2000, would have been like what, the mid 90s, I assume?
96, wasn't it?
96. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. It's a bit of a stretch.
They did something clever with this film. I'll explain it more in facts, but the reason why they keep going on about the 96 Sugar Bowl and is because there wasn't a 96 Sugar Bowl. Yeah. There was a 95 and a 97. So they could clearly, and they don't have to go into too much detail. Okay, yeah, Falco lost the 96 Sugar Bowl. That's fine because there wasn't one. Speaking of that, well, not so much a Sugar Bowl, but a Falco. At the beginning of the film, when he's cleaning the barnacles off the boat and he finds his old All-Star team trophy, should he be arrested for dumping? Because that looked like a lot of trophies he chucked into that water. And then all of a sudden he has nostalgia this one time the cameras are on him.
Yeah, so he suddenly starts playing underwater football, which is very strange. Although there is reference in this film, like I'm pretty sure that Falco in this film is from Ohio State, and that is the same university as Johnny Utah in Point Break.
I read Johnny Utah. He played Sugar Bowl, lost his knee, went to these feds, arrested, let Patrick Swayze go out and die, and then decided to just live on.
Maybe it's a sliding doors moment. It's like in one version he went on and ended up playing for Washington, and the other he ended up becoming an FBI agent. I fucking love that film. But yeah, it's a strange one for sure. Speaking of Falco, what did you think? You were mentioning like his relationship with the team, which just built up over time. And one of the key moments in the film for that relationship to really gel is beyond the bar scene. Obviously, they have their moment in the prison afterwards. Is when Gene Hackman talks about players' fears. When they're on the ship, it's like, oh, what are your fears? And he has this whole like quicksand speech. It's a cool little speech.
Yeah.
The way the players react was like he was like delivering William Shakespeare. It was, and I was just like, guys, it's a perfectly decent. It's like, oh man, that's deep as fuck, Falco. That's deep.
I mean, to be fair to the rest of the team, 5 minutes ago, one of them shot up a Porsche. 2 minutes ago, one of them was talking about being scared of bees and spiders on the fucking field. So Falco says something a little bit deep. They're going to go, that is the deepest thing I've ever heard in my life. So I'm all right with that.
And I did actually really like that scene where I feel like you should always have like that one friend who has a gun. It's like when Faison Love and Michael Taliaferro, when they kind of stick up for Falco, and he just pulls out the gun and just shoots the shit out of his car. He's like, you're going to pay for that. And just the way he responds, like, no, I'm not. It's like, oh, okay, fair enough. But what it did remind me of when they had that whole talk about the fears, you probably wouldn't have seen it. Do you know Jack Grealish is, the footballer? You may have heard the name. I know you're not.
I think I know the name, but no.
You probably heard it somewhere before. But there is an interview with Jack Grealish where he's on a golf course and someone asks him, it's like, oh, well, what are your fears? And his response is mouse. And he keeps telling us mouse. And he's like, excuse me? Oh, mouse. Oh, mice. Oh, rats. He goes, oh, I guess they're all the same thing. And then the interview goes, rodents. And he's like, what was that? It's like rodents. And clearly, Jack Grealish has never heard the term rodents in his life. I know, footballers, they get dragged out of school early, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how you get to like 30 years old and you've never heard the term rodents before. Also, in his defense, I do quite like the idea that your greatest fear is just mouse, like a specific mouse.
The big mouse,
who just shows up and gives you shit.
Imagine if it was Mickey. I think the greatest fear is Mickey.
Just Mickey Mouse. Well, I bet you there's someone out there who, like, because Mickey Mouse has got that weird ass voice. It's a strange voice when you think about it. We've all become used to it, but it's a weird voice all the same. But anyway, yeah, what do we think about, like, so, obviously it builds up and, as you said, the passage of time feels relatively consistent in the movie. And then we kind of get rushed through the last three games, which they all win without any, again, up until the last game, any great stress. They just the games go by so quickly. We had a similar issue actually with Hoosiers, where all of a sudden they were just playing all the championship games and then you're in the final. I think even Mighty Ducks had a similar problem. Where you're just like, wait, are we in the final already? It's just like, I know it's not the final, but, the final of the four games that they've clearly outlined, just like, well, this is the one you've got to win to get to the playoffs. When they get there, again, I quite like what you see on screen. I think the stuff with Martel is underbaked for sure. Falco showing up after, Hackman giving his whole halftime speech where it's like, we need Hart. I was like, I wonder if he's going to show up. And he shows up like a fucking superhero with all the lights and everything going off. It's cheesy, but it kind of works. Yeah, but the football in that final sequence is cool.
Football in that final sequence is cool. How long is halftime? 15 minutes? 45 minutes? An hour?
Well, in American sports, it's usually a bit long. I mean, the Super Bowl's ridiculous, but I would guess it'll be like 20 minutes or something like that. It'd be the standard.
So where is Falco located on game night from his houseboat to the Sentinels pitch?
Yeah, because he literally said, you see him on his houseboat when Hackman's walking off and the commentator asks him, what you need, Hart. So he's there for the start of the second half. He gets across town and is suited up as well. So say we say, even if we give him the benefit and say it's 30 minutes, because it's like the end of the season game, 30 minutes, there's just no fucking way. There's just no way. And as I mentioned earlier, he wouldn't have been on this list of squad players, which doesn't make any sense. I know, because Martel is apparently the only player who's come back over the picket line. He's playing with all the other scabs. Surely you keep Falco as a backup QB.
You would have thought, yeah. But who's letting Falco in?
Yeah. Surely the refs just go, wait. Is he on the squad? You have to announce your squad, regardless of the sport. You can't just be like, oh, he's part of our team. No, he has to be part of the announced squad. He's at home on his boat. He's not on the squad list. But he just rocks up halftime. Everything's fucking cool.
Two other questions. Is Martel throwing the game? And where does Martel go after they check him out of the locker room? Does he just throw his toys out of the pram and just sit outside?
Well, again, it's weird. So we mentioned earlier about the benevolent owner who suddenly becomes an arsehole. So that's Edward O'Neill's is the character.
Yeah.
Martel is playing so bad, to your point, it feels like he might be throwing the game. I don't think he is, because it doesn't make any sense. He's just playing like shit. So the fans are on his case. He's playing like shit, and he still doesn't want Falco to come back just because it doesn't make any sense. But again, because realistically, if he came back, Falco should be on the bench. He plays like shit. Get Falco in the game. It works. But because he has Falco for the whole movie doesn't give a shit what Martel says. He's such a cool character, so low key, but he says one thing about Annabelle and then decides to stand her up on a date, and it feels so forced. Although my wife, when she was watching it, she goes, "Oh, Keanu always stands up women in movies." I was like, "Really?" I can't think of another one. She goes, "Oh, The Boathouse. He totally stood up Sandra Bullock in that film." Because she goes, "But he was dead, in fairness." I was like, well, that's a pretty good excuse. That's a pretty good excuse to stand up a woman if you're dead. I think everyone has such high expectations of Keanu. He wouldn't let death get in the way. He would make it for the date.
Is that the one with the magic mailbox? That's that film.
I think so. I've never seen The Boathouse, in fairness, but obviously my wife is both a fan and not a fan, apparently. I couldn't quite make my mind up. But you get the cool speech, which you referenced at the start. Pain heals, chicks dig scars, glorious forever. That is a fucking awesome speech, by the way. But again, it's all building up towards that last moment. As I mentioned earlier with Seattle and the Patriots, why it works so well on the screen, blah, 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 is suddenly they've got one play left. They're 5 yards out. They've already set it up earlier. It's like, winners want the ball in this moment. So, Falco takes the ball and he's going to, and they've got all these fantastic songs they use in the movie. But instead, they use the pony-ass score, and it just takes all. You think of what was it? Varsity Blues. The
Yeah.
equivalent scene. They shoot it in the same. They always do the same thing with football films. When it's the last play, they've got the guy taking the snap. He'll walk towards the screen. You'll see his number. He ducks down, and you're just like, oh, it's that classic football shot. And then you bring in the music, and you think again, Varsity Blues. You suddenly, and it's like My Hero by the Foo Fighters. Awesome. You think about how much The Natural, that famous sequence with Robert Redford at the end, how much is elevated by the music. In this film, the score completely robs those final moments of any grandiose nature. And then on top of that, after they win and they decide to bring in a song, they bring in a terrible cover of We Could Be Heroes.
I like that.
Oh my God. Oh, is that bad?
That wasn't even a cover. That was actually him, wasn't it?
I thought it was Bowie? A cover.
No, that was Bowie.
Oh, maybe I'm being harsh. I just didn't think it suited the movement. I thought it was that cover that maybe I'm mixing it up with Godzilla. I'm sure they had a cover for Godzilla. I need to look that up anyway. But and it's one of those things we've not really mentioned is the score. Sorry, the soundtrack. So it's got Lit, it's got Rolling Stones, it's got Young MC, that song's dope. Gloria Gaynor, The Police, 2 Unlimited. It's eclectic as fuck, and yet somehow feels very 2000. It's just a shame, as I said, the score kind of shits.
The score does like drown out for or take away from the soundtrack, but the soundtrack, I'm with you, is great. And I wouldn't say it's on my playlist. Like Lit definitely would have been on my playlist. I say totally. Definitely, it's still on my playlist. But yeah, no, I'm a fan of the soundtrack. I must admit,
they had a moment in movies, didn't they? Lit at like remember there was like again around 2000. They bring in all these bands. Like
Titan
Incubus had that was exactly what I was going to mention, man. Titan AE was like I really liked that film, and it was just like the tail end, or maybe like just as Toy Stories hit big, and all of a sudden, and Disney had the same problem. All of a sudden, everyone was just like, unless it's 3D or CG specifically, sorry, we don't want to see it. So like traditional animation was suddenly seen as old hat, and films like Titan AE just completely fell by the wayside, despite the fact that it's kind of dope. And it had that awesome Lit song, Over My Head. Oh, I fucking love that song. I absolutely love that song. I kind of want to watch Titan AE again. And Matt Damon in it, right?
Yeah, Matt Damon. Other people. John Leguizamo, I remember he was in it.
I know. Matt Damon and other people, sure.
one of the Jeffs. I can't remember if it was Daniels or.
Let's just go with that, Jeff Daniels.
So, Hero, written by Bowie, but performed by Mark Bonilla and Fonte 40.
I knew it wasn't Bowie.
To be fair, the best song was I'd Rather Be a Bastard Than a Yorkshireman. When Nigel and the pub are singing. Like, he's got the whole pub singing, I think, like what a fucking football chant.
Oh, I just what's the ole 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 that they keep singing? Ole, ole. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. I've never been more. It's not ole ole ole, but I went to a wedding up in Scotland, and it was a lot of Welsh people came up for it.
Yeah,
Welsh people came up to Scotland, and it was awesome because we got to go. They booked out Murrayfield, so we had Murrayfield to ourselves, and we went out onto the pitch. And you're like, oh, this is so cool. You're suited and booted. You're out in Murrayfield. You got the whole place to yourself. And the mother of the bride, I think it was off her fucking skull. Absolutely shit-faced. And she only decides to make a scene. And she tries to get everyone to do Oggy, Oggy, Oggy. Oggy, Oggy. There's something about Oggy, 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 which I cannot stand. And do you ever have those moments when and I love Wales, I love being Welsh, but I was ashamed of my people on just that one day when we're standing on, the Scottish football ground, and you got the piss mum shouting Oggy, 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 and everyone feels compelled to join in, so they're going oi, 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 and I'm just like, oh, I just want to fucking leave. I just want to leave. Like my toes are curling. I just felt terrible about the whole situation.
It's when you go to a Wales rugby game as well. I can't do the tune. For the life of me, but when that tune comes up, it goes, and at the end of it, the entire crowd goes, "Ole!" Not Ole, the tune I'm on about.
I know, Like, there's just certain things I don't get on with. It's like I love Welsh football. Like I've always tried to follow the Welsh football team, and I love the red wall and all that jazz. But they all wear bucket hats. And I think bucket hats inherently just look stupid. I hate bucket hats. If you want to wear bucket hats, it's up to you. But again, as a nation, it's not that hat I would pick to associate with my nation, the bucket hat.
Oh, dude.
It's quite a simpleton's hat.
not screamed, but I had an issue the other week because I was walking through town
Mhm.
or just outside of town whilst Oasis are playing. So you can imagine the amount of people I saw with stupid bucket hats
And the
walking around.
haircuts and everything.
Yeah,
I saw
yeah.
someone get an interview today being judgmental about other people's music as he was outside an Oasis concert and he literally had the coat on, he had the dopey hair, and I was like, oh yeah, this is why I fucking hate Manchester. And I'm sorry if you're from Manchester, Puddin lives in Manchester, fair play to him. But it's like every time I've gone to Manchester, I'm just like, I don't like this place. And maybe it's just instilled in me because I'm a Liverpool fan. But there's just something about Manchester, the accent. And I know anyone will be like, oh, you're a Liverpool fan. What about their accent? I'll take a Scouse accent over a Manchester accent any day of the week. But there's something about the swagger of that. Like, I hate the Stone Roses as well. Can't fucking stand them. And I did like Oasis growing up, but I just can't get over what absolute bellends Liam and Noel Gallagher are. Like it's like a genuine issue now. Like
Yeah.
as good as their music might be, I just struggle to get over that wall where I'm just like, I just think they're utter turnips, both of them.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the movie. This is another movie where it ends with a Hackman voiceover, a la Hoosiers.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
At least in this one, he doesn't go, "I love you guys" from 10 minutes ago. Fucking
Yeah.
film.
It's very strange. Again, I don't think this movie, and it's a weird thing to say because Hackman's great, and this is almost, it hasn't quite become Hackman season, but it has almost become coach season. Nearly all these films, they're not so much about the team. The emphasis is on the coach rather than in Hoosiers. It's very much Hackman's story. For all the kids, I would still the emphasis is on Emilio Estevez's character. This film, as I said, you kind of split the difference. I still can't say, is this Hackman's movie? Is this Keanu's movie? I'm not convinced it's really anybody's movie. It just kind of happens. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a perfectly fitting way to end a sports movie. As I said, filled with cliche. And we've spent like most of this podcast tearing this film apart. I just want to be clear. I quite enjoyed it. It's a mess.
It is a mess, but it's so much fun. As I already said, it is a fun mess. But yeah, it's still a mess, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I totally agree.
Is. That leads to our favorite scenes.
Yeah,
go for it, buddy.
It's a mix of two, and you've already mentioned them both, isn't it? It's either the bar scene because that's when the team, and Hackman says it as well in regards to we got two issues: leadership and trust. One of them has been resolved. Blah blah blah. They all get together after Orlando Jones admits he's hid. Or would it be the actual quicksand? And I know you're not a big fan of like them all going, that's the deepest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But I do quite like that scene because it's showing Falco going out of his comfort zone. He's stepping up. They've mentioned it so many times. Everyone, you was it? You got a couple of hits. Your team leaned on you, and you crumbled. You fucked up. Like you don't do good under pressure. Blah blah blah. Yada yada yada. And coming from a guy that hates public speaking as well, when he finally and laughing is like fucking hell. If somebody says one more thing about an insect, I might have to step up. So he says quicksand, and then they go, "Oh, quicksand's scary as fuck." That led me to think that quicksand was a bigger deal in the 80s than it is now.
Like, I died in quicksand in the 80s. Supposedly, I can't remember it, but supposedly when I was a very young child, I stepped in quicksand. And I supposedly went down very quietly. And my mum, she might be exaggerating, but to her memory, she said like I was almost all the way down, and she had to grab me by my hair and drag me out. So supposedly, quicksand was a fucking thing in the 80s. I can't remember it happening, but I was told it happened.
I still don't believe quicksand's a thing. I think it's the thing the film's made up for us because, like, we were led to believe that quicksand. I wouldn't go on Barry Beach for a while in the 80s in case I found quicksand.
I love the idea that you're just not having quicksand. In fairness, I had like a spell. Like when I first moved up to Edinburgh, and we had like this brief spell where we didn't have the internet, so I couldn't double check it. I just wasn't having banoffee. I'd never had banoffee growing up, and my wife was like, "Oh, we'll have banoffee." I was like, "What the fuck is banoffee?" She was, "Oh, this banana and I was like, "That's made up. You just made that the fuck up." And went to the shop. Of course, it's real. It's about as real as quicksand. I can assure you that is real as well. But no, to your point, it is actually a good speech, and I do like Keanu in that sequence. And it is actually, when you think it like, anyone who's played sports, and you can apply it to most things. I think it is something you can kind of totally latch onto. I had a game once, and the guys who were there listening to this will remember this. I had and they'll tell you I had a bunch of shocking games playing football on a Saturday and Sunday morning back in the day. But I had one game where I just like early on, I made a couple of mistakes, and every mistake I made led to a goal. And I was playing centre back, so
Yeah.
it was just one of those, like, every little mistake I made led to a goal, and then from there. It just exactly what he talked about. It snowballed. I remember specifically towards the end of the game, the ball came from high and I trapped it and I thought, oh, well, that was pretty good. And I've just like rolled it under my foot, fallen over, and perfectly rolled the ball backwards into the running path of the striker who scored like the fifth goal. And I just can't remember there ever being so many people watching a game I played in, and it was just the worst I've ever had. So very much the quicksand analogy worked for that. I just think the reactions of the players is a little OTT. But in terms of my own favorite scene, it's probably the bar scene, which again, in terms of like capture, getting the tone of the movie just right, is probably the bar scene. Although I was really pleasantly surprised by the aforementioned, I'll call it the Ross and Rachel scene between Falco and Annabelle, where you think it's going to be a cheesy kind of romance sequence, and then Madden starts commentating on their first kiss. I was like, that is really cool.
We got to give him his credit as well. Madden, along with Pat Summerall. Pat Summerall being the other guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's fine. I mean, he is a commentator in his own right, isn't he? In real life,
yeah. But Madden's he's so.
Oh, Madden's Madden. Yeah,
he's larger than life, wasn't he? That was the whole thing. Loves and hates. I'll go first. My three loves. So number one, I would not really mention it. Like the material is fine, but it is elevated by a great cast. Keanu Reeves, Gene Hackman, Brooke Langton, Jon Favreau, Rhys Evans, Orlando Jones, who's not great, but he's a good actor. David Denham, Art LaFleur, who we've hardly mentioned. I always think of him as the baseball guy, so I'm almost upset to see him in a football film. Art LaFleur, you might not know who he is, but you would have seen, if you've watched a baseball film, that fucker's in it. He's in like Field of Dreams. He's in Mr. Baseball. He's in like a bunch of other, like every
Your favorite?
What one's that?
Sandlot.
He's in Sandlot, of course. Of course, he's Babe Ruth in Sandlot. How the hell did I forget that? So yeah, he feels like he's in every baseball film. So I was actually a little upset to see him in this, but he's only in it for a couple of scenes, but he's perfectly fine. Number two, like I said, it is ultimately cliched material, but it does feel unique in so much, that it's about scabs and, as I said, the whole reserve code. So it does give the movie a slightly different vibe, which I quite enjoyed. And number three, some solid mentions of Wales, a country that needs a better international PR team. Like it does now, it definitely did back in 2000. That's for damn sure. So yeah, it's quite sad that I still get excited when somebody mentions Wales on screen, but that's where we are.
Because why the fuck do we, like you said, we need a better PR team? And I don't understand why. We have the world's greatest flag. It's a dragon. There's a dragon on our flag.
We have so many castles. I mean, when I know it was filmed in Croatia and bits and islands, stuff like that, but when Game of Thrones was going big, I was like, Jesus Christ, they should have been banging out adverts about the fact that we have a dragon on our flag and we have more castles per square mile than any other country in the world. It was ludicrous, a complete oversight, and just the usual bollocks from Wales. We don't have enough. We haven't sold our national identity well enough internationally. When you think of Scotland, people think of whiskey, they think of bagpipes, they think of kilts. When you think of Ireland, you think of, I don't know, fucking green, Guinness, all that bullshit. With Wales, I just don't think, like, people aren't saying, oh, leeks and daffodils. And even if you were, that's not fucking ideal. It should be the dragon. But I just don't think we've sold it well enough internationally. Anyway, sorry, I was having a moan.
No, the guy that went to the meeting. Right, I've designed the flag. Oh, where you got? Well, half of it's going to be green, for the green grass. Okay, that's great. White for the sky. Okay, well, we'll give you that. What else? Well, a dragon. Well, dragon in the corner. No. A big fuck off dragon right in the middle. I mean,
it's so awesome that they wouldn't allow it on, the Union Jack, because it would just take over. It would just take over the flag. You can't just suddenly go banging on a dragon, because everyone's like, what the fuck is a dragon doing on the Union Jack? It's like, well, Wales, we're the other country. We just aren't on the Union Jack. Anyway, so we just seem to be having a moan about Welsh history now.
Right. So my loves, I know, and I'll give an honourable mention to the cast in total, but I'm going to stick to two. Keanu Reeves as Shane Falco. I think is he like the coolest washed up quarterback ever? I think he might be.
He looks great in this film. It's weird. We've not really mentioned the fact that he's coming off The Matrix. Like he's coming off like one of the biggest hits in God knows how long, and he chooses to do this film. It's like a really interesting choice.
And it's funny because his leadership style as well. It's not textbook, is it? He's like a Zen surfer style hippie with sports therapy thrown in. It's really weird, but people seem to follow him.
Well, it's just
Uh,
because he's so handsome and he's got the hair. It's like when he runs
yeah,
out at the end, you're like, oh, this should look like lame. And then you're just like, oh no, it's 2000 Keanu. He just looks fantastic, so it's fine.
delivering the quote I gave at the beginning as well: "Pain heals, chick dig scars, glory lasts forever." I mean, the sincerity in how he delivers it makes it work. It's cheesy as fuck, but it makes it work. I love it. I love that line.
I love
Uh,
Keanu. Love him.
Number two, Gene Hackman as Jimmy McGinty. It's just like a perfect blend of warmth and like grizzled veteran and like rustiness.
Mhm.
I think he's absolutely great in this film. And like the usual loudmouth characters that you get, you've already said it. He's chill. He's looking after the guys. He's already said it. Creepily, he's kept an eye on all of these guys over the years.
Mhm.
These are some of the guys I've been watching through binoculars. I mean, I've ad-libbed
Yeah,
that part, but yeah.
he's perfectly good in it. The problem is, and this is a very specific problem to this podcast right now, is that we watched Hoosiers a couple of weeks ago. So you've got like just a perfect comparison of what Gene Hackman can do with better writing and better direction. And I know it's a different film because this one's partly at least a comedy. He's so good in Hoosiers, and
He's
in
good in
this, you're just
Hoosiers.
like, he's fine.
No, I prefer McGinty. I do prefer McGinty
Oh,
over Hoosiers coach. That's probably because I
he's
prefer the
nicer.
replacements over. He is nicer, yeah.
You prefer you prefer this over Hoosiers?
Replacements. I would take replacements over Hoosiers, yeah, as a
It's a big
film.
shout. We are going to
Yeah.
disagree come the ratings.
And number two, or number three, sorry, the games. I mean, it's
Mhm.
stylized mayhem, isn't it? It doesn't just skimp on any of the sports actions. They're frantic, funny, very well shot, as we've already said.
Mhm.
It's slapstick comedy and cinematic flair all thrown into one. It's really good.
Yeah, it's weird. In fairness, I probably should have mentioned that. The fact that it somehow balances comedy with genuine football. So it
Yeah.
like if you watch it as an interpretation of the actual game, it totally works. But when they go OTT and they go for something more broad, that also works. It's a shame that the rest of the movie can't match that, but the football in the field definitely does that. So.
Yeah.
In terms of hates, I mentioned a few times just lack stakes. Totally lack stakes throughout the end. They try and get the stuff, as I said, the guy going back to prison, Rhys Evans with the gangsters, the cop versus the prisoner, all that jazz. It all just feels underplayed and a little inconsequential, sadly. Some of the characters and motivations are painted in the broadest of strokes, to say the least. Again, you do get that with sports movies. The only problem with this film is that it feels true of every single character. It's like Gene Hackman and Keanu get over it to a certain extent just because they're so likable to watch on screen, but their narratives are ultimately broad as fuck. And number three, we mentioned it a couple of times. The score is terrible, especially for that final play. As I said, it's that last play. The fact that we didn't even have it as part, like in the conversation for our favorite scene. I think if that same sequence has an absolute banger of a song behind it, like if you take away the existence of Varsity Blues and you have that exact same play, that exact same scene, but My Hero by the Foo Fighters kicks in,
Yeah.
I think we're talking about it as one of the best scenes in the film because it's shot really well. It's just the music is ass, so it just kind of completely dulls its importance, sadly.
Fair enough. Uh, so for me, number one, Martel. He's just fucking all ego, isn't he? I mean, the problem is he
Mhm.
does it so well. That's why you dislike him. But
Yeah,
he's like a poster boy for everything that's wrong with pro sport. It's cliche, smug, selfish, allergic to teamwork, just everything that could
but
go wrong.
it's one of those tricky ones when we talk about loves and hates because yeah, I hate him, but we're supposed to hate him. So
Yeah,
also mission accomplished. Like he's really good at being a complete bellend.
yeah.
He's so good that they've looked at him and gone, listen, guys, like he's 44 and he looks 52. Do we really want to hire him as the quarterback for this film? And just like, yeah, but he's supposed to be a bellend. And dude, Brett Cullen is really, really
Really
good
a
at playing a
bellend, yeah.
bellend,
Yeah,
So it's like we're gonna put him in anyway. That's how fucking good he is. It
yeah.
makes no sense for him to be in the film, but they put him in anyway because he's a great dickhead, which is a weird sentence.
So I wrote number two down. We didn't really you mentioned it briefly, but we didn't really go too much into it. But it's like the cheerleader distraction tactics. It's like it's just done for laughs and over the top, and it can just be a bit cringy and just yeah.
I didn't
And
like
you
anything to
you
do with
did
the
you did it a
cheerleaders
bit
at all.
too. Sorry, you did it a bit too much as well. Like okay, she slapped her ass and they did it once. That's fine, but you did the same thing again, and you get the angry coach on the other side. Can you tell them to stop shaking their asses for 1 minute? I was like, all right, now you're just going a bit playing for laughs. It's going a bit too much. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that.
I think they were trying to force in that narrative simply because Annabelle was a cheerleader as part of the team. But that bit in particular, as I said, this film, when it goes for broad comedy in particular, it falls on its face. Everything to do with the cheerleaders just didn't work for me at all in this film.
Yeah. Number 3 as well. I gotta go for the. You've already said the soundtrack. I class it as a bit the over-the-top musical cues. It's like it's narrating your emotions. It's trying to tell you when to feel, but it's doing it with a fucking megaphone. It's like this is how you feel. This is when you got to feel it. And like, oh, don't tell me what to do. Movie, don't tell me what to do or how to feel. I'll fucking tell you.
Yeah, unless we're talking like elite level stuff, and you're talking John Williams or something along those lines. 99% of the time, you don't want to notice the score. The whole point is it subtly pushes you in a certain direction. And it's only when somebody, like if they play the same sequence with a different score, you suddenly realize how effective it actually was. In this film, you totally notice it. In the same way, if you've got a bad screenplay and you can feel the strings being pulled, and you're just like, oh, I get it. We're supposed to cry now. We're supposed to be happy now. It's kind of like that in score form. And yeah, like you said, quite clumsily. The implementation was quite clumsy, sorry.
Yeah. That's it. That's all my 3.
Cool. Any alternative titles for The Replacements? There has to be, because The Replacements is fine, but I can't imagine every country's like, no, we're definitely calling this The Replacements.
So obviously Argentina, I say obviously like
obviously.
Yeah. The Substitutes.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah. Austria, Heroes from the Second Row.
That sounds like a rugby film.
Yeah. Brazil, Changing the Game.
It's okay.
Czech Republic, Alternates.
Yeah, much of muchness.
Italy, The Reserves.
Mm-hmm.
Poland, Substitute Season.
This all feels like synonyms for the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's where I was going with my obviously. But Lithuania, Resiliency.
Resiliency. Is that resiliency?
A word? Yeah, resilient. You've got some resiliency, I guess.
No, you have resilience. You don't have resiliency.
And some resiliency. I'm sticking with it.
Fair enough. It's like quicksand. I don't believe in quicksand, but I believe in resiliency.
Russia, Understudies. Spain, Forced Equipment.
No.
Taiwan, 10 Perfect Men.
That sounds like a very different movie.
Yeah. And Ukraine, Doubles.
No, well, in fairness, as uninspired as The Replacements is as a title, it's absolutely fine, and it's the best of the bunch. So we'll stick with The Replacements. Any facts for this film? We've already named it. It's kind of gone through a few, but...
Yeah, so this is the final film of Jack Warden. We didn't really mention Jack Warden, the owner. He retired from acting after this role. I think he passed away in like 2008, at like 80-something, so...
the guy who plays Edward O'Neill, the owner, yeah? Yeah.
A lot of these facts are about the, as we've already said, about the real...
The 87 Redskins and all that jazz, yeah.
So Keanu Reeves gained 23 pounds for his role as quarterback Shane Falco.
It's weird because he takes off his top in this film and he's obviously put on a bit of weight, but I always like the fact that back then you didn't have to be like automatically shredded. Like it's something about like Marvel films in particular where you're just like, oh, you have to get shredded if you take your top off. Whereas in this, he's just like, he's just put on a bit of weight and he's built like a sportsman. Like he looks the part. And we've not really mentioned this, and sorry if I'm stepping on other facts, but one of the things that make this movie work is the fact that Keanu is just convincing as a quarterback in the same way that Costner is convincing every time he plays baseball. It's like when one of the examples we've used in previous podcasts is as great as Michael J. Fox is in, say, Teen Wolf, he can't play basketball. He just can't, and you can see it all over the screen.
Yeah.
You don't have that problem with this film. As soon as Keanu has the ball, you're like, that's a guy who's played football before, and it makes a massive difference.
Well, which leads into the next one. So during filming, Keanu Reeves was offered a tryout with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I've heard conflicting stories about this as to how genuine that offer was for the trial. But that same team, the Baltimore Ravens, which is interesting because obviously they were playing in Baltimore.
I'm gonna go on with that one. The Baltimore Ravens would eventually go on to win Super Bowl.
There we go.
35, less than 6 months after the film's release. So.
Imagine a world where Keanu Reeves with a Super Bowl ring after taking the Baltimore Ravens to glory. Bizarre.
Clifford Franklin is repeatedly seen tightly clutching a football in multiple off-the-field scenes, including in the cafeteria and during the chalk talk or the quicksand scene. This is because of a deleted scene in which McGinty tells Franklin to never let go of the football in the hopes it will help him reduce drop passes on the field, a mistake Franklin makes alarmingly often. So after reading that fact, I'm thinking back, yeah, he's constantly holding a football. He's holding it when he's being too much of a dick and
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
dancing with his
yeah,
shirt off. When Micah Wilkinson goes to shiv him in the face in front of the copper,
yeah, yeah.
he's constantly holding a football. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. I can imagine there are a few deleted scenes in this film because,
Yeah.
yeah, some stuff does feel like it falls out of the fucking sky.
Archie L. Harris Jr., who plays Wilson Carr, was an actual replacement player during the 1987 NFL strike. He played offensive tackle for the Denver Broncos, who eventually lost in Super Bowl 22 to the Washington Redskins. So I don't know who
That's
the
pretty
character
cool.
Wilson Carr is there, but they're one of the guys from the.
Yeah, yeah.
There were plans to do a sequel, but they fell through.
Well, this film did okay. I think the budget
Yeah.
was like 50, and I think it made 50. So it's probably seen as like a disappointment. It wasn't like an outright flop because, it made most of its money back, and I'm sure it did absolutely fine on DVD. It's hard to say, over here in particular, it's like just how popular it is in America because that's where it would have obviously made the majority of its money. I don't know if this film has had like a long tail, like how highly it's regarded, or it's one of those kind of sports movies that people love in America. I don't get that impression over here. People still talk, and it could just be your friend circles. But it's like I know people who still talk about Any Given Sunday. They still talk about Varsity Blues. I don't know many people who still talk about The Replacements. It's just one of those films which didn't catch on over here in the same way. We obviously have a soft spot for it,
Yeah.
but it's just one of the. It feels more niche over here, that's for sure.
Yeah. So this should actually help you. After the onside kick, Falco tackles Bateman and he regularly holds the ball for Gruff to kick. The quarterback isn't usually on special teams due to the possibility of an easy injury, but the Sentinels only hired 22 replacement players, so special teams was composed of players from both the offense and defense. And
you still would net right. The whole thing with special teams is his position.
It says it because of injury. You wouldn't make your quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the most important part is like, dude, don't fuck up your hands. Jesus Christ. Yeah. It's like, the whole thing nowadays is like, wrap your quarterbacks in cotton wool because they are the franchise. Like, that's the player. It's like, we're just going to put him in special teams and hopefully he doesn't get kicked in the hand by what is clearly a drunk Welshman.
Right, that's it for facts. But I gotta say, how the fuck have we gone through this entire film and not mentioned Keith David?
Yeah, dude, I totally forgot. And it was one of the first things I wrote down. And I was like, oh, dude, I totally forgot Keith David in this film. And that's because he's there and then he just disappears for the whole film. He's just gone.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. You can't mistake that voice.
He's on TV talking about his brothers, and then once the team arrives and he's going, "Oh, here come the scabs now," and then you get the Nigel Gruff going, "Sorry, get a job, you wankers." I mean, typical Welshman. But then Keith David disappears after that.
So bizarre. I mean, that was the thing. You get to the end of the film, and I'm watching at the start. Like, how did I forget Keith David in this? And then you get to the end of the film, you go, "Oh yeah," because he's not in it for the rest of the movie. It's a very strange choice. Hug to the Future. So this is where we ask the question: remake, sequel, Let It Die or Leave Well Alone. I would just say let it be. I mean, you're not going to get a cast like this again for this kind of movie. It's kind of its time to a certain extent. It's not a brilliant movie. It's an interesting enough story. Like so many of these sports movies, I get it if somebody wanted to turn it into a TV show to give the characters more time to play out the story maybe a bit more accurately and include the Redskins' ultimate run towards the Super Bowl. But I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. If you want to hear the whole story, actually, Gene Hackman ended up, where is it? I wrote this down somewhere. My apologies. He ended up narrating the episode of the NFL Network's America's Game, the Super Bowl champions, about the team. So there is actually a show about the 1987 Redskins, and it is narrated by Gene Hackman. So we don't need a remake. Just watch that instead.
Leave it alone. Let it be. I really like this film. I have fun with this film all the time. I've watched it quite a few times. I don't need to see remakes. I don't need to see go to a TV show. I don't need anything. Like just leave it alone. It's fine.
Yeah, just leave it in 2000 with the lit doing the soundtrack. Make a change. This is where we ask a question: if you could only make one change to make this movie better, what would it be? For me, it's the score. Or as I mentioned earlier, pick an emphasis. Make it about the team, make it about the story with the whole scab thing, or make it about the coach, whatever. Just don't make it about everything and nothing at the same time. But I'm going to stick with the score because I just really didn't like it.
For me, it's give Shane Falco a deeper backstory and like a more emotionally resonant arc. I mean, we get the hint of it with the sugar bowl. He's living on a boat now. He's trying to be peaceful, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But you just think the film needed to lean a bit harder into like a personal redemption for him. I don't know, a flashback, former teammate confrontation with the coach. That's why just something just to hold on to. So he's got more of a like a redemption arc.
I think they should have done more of the whole, like you said earlier, this is based loosely on the Doug Williams and Jay Schroeder story from the whole Redskins scabs versus players. I think that would have been more interesting. Like, they have these like confrontations, but because there's no emotion attached to those sequences. Every single interaction between Martell and Falco is played for laughs because there's nothing attached to it on an emotional level.
You can't add another change. You chose soundtrack.
I did sound, and I'm stick with it. It's a terrible score. Video games. So unsurprisingly, there wasn't a video game based on the replacements.
I'm gonna go first on this one because you
go for it. Go for it, buddy.
My one. Just in case we actually on the same page.
There's no way you're picking my one from this week. There's no fucking way.
NFL Street from EA Sports.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Because I mean, NFL Street, like it's a version of Blitz, isn't it? But it's like set in the street.
Yeah, there was FIFA Street version as well, and all that jazz.
It felt like, because of all the chaos of the Washington Sentinels games and things like that, you don't want a typical NFL game. You want something that's a bit harder, and I don't want to go for Blitz. We've gone for Blitz a few times, so I thought Street could be
Street's probably the perfect choice, actually, because unlike NFL Blitz, which is like totally arcadey and you've got people like getting body slammed and it's totally OTT, both FIFA and NFL Street is a little bit more attached to the real sport. So it's OTT, like some of the moments are in this, but fundamentally it's closer to the actual sport. The rules are all there, blah, blah. So yeah, it's probably a decent shout. And we could have easily gone with, like they did for, when we covered the Mighty Ducks last week, and NHL 23 had like a Ducks mode, basically. You could play with the jersey and it had the story and stuff. You could obviously do that for, the only thing is, if you're going to do a Madden version, you wouldn't do the replacements. You would do the 1987 Washington Redskins and actually have the scabs and all that jazz. So I would just use it as an excuse to bring back an unlicensed version of Joe Montana's Sports Talk Football from the Mega Drive. And that is simply because I have such fond memories of playing Joe Montana's Sports Talk Football with my friends. Everyone else had Madden. And for some odd reason, maybe because it was on sale and I didn't have the money to just go out and buy whatever game I wanted, I ended up with Joe Montana's Sports Talk Football. And I was just like, just bring that back, but with the replacements. That's not going to work, but that's what I'd like to see.
What game was that, sorry?
Joe Montana's Sports Talk Football.
One more time?
No, I'm not going to say it again.
You're doing a full title every time.
Well, you kind of have to, because Joe Montana was like the face of the game. So Joe Montana played famously for the San Francisco 49ers. So they've had, instead of having Madden, we're going to have Joe Montana. And they called it Sports Talk Football because I think it was a big deal back then to have any kind of voice in a video game.
Yeah.
So the fact that there was any voice, they're just like, oh, well, Sports Talk Football, this is how we're going to sell the game. But it was a perfectly decent football game.
I don't remember it.
No one else played it. It was certainly not in the UK. Everyone else was playing Madden 94, and my friends and I were playing Sports Talk Football over my place. It was the same with baseball, because instead of picking up a PlayStation, my friends and I all picked up a Sega Saturn. So we were playing World Series Baseball by Sega, which I fucking adore to this day. And it wasn't even the full game. It was a demo disc, so it was just the home run derby. And Sega Worldwide Soccer. Everyone else was playing FIFA. We were playing Sega Worldwide Soccer, which to my mind was a much better game anyway.
It's like not playing Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. You're playing Killer Instinct or Virtua Fighter.
World Heroes or something like that. I remember this is a deep cut. Back when there was like a corner shop on every corner. So we lived in terrace houses in Roath in Cardiff. And on every block, there was a corner shop, and there was one called Fleming's, which was halfway up. And the two cool things that Fleming's had was it had VHSs that you could rent, but it used to have like the official prices on them. As in, I couldn't get my head around it, but it was how much the video stores paid for those videos when they first came out. So it's like, wait, I can buy this video, but it's going to cost me like £150. I remember very specifically, there was a copy of Lost Boys, £150. But the other thing they used to have was an arcade machine in the back. And they, instead of having Street Fighter 2, they had World Heroes. So we used to play that all the fucking time. It's an old school SNK, basically like so many games at the time, a Street Fighter 2 ripoff. It was one of the better Street Fighter 2 ripoffs, put it that way. But anyway, we've gone off on a tangent there. So that leads us to, does it lead us to best and worst of IMDb? It doesn't, but we're going there anyway. So this is where we pick out a random 10-star and 1-star review for the film. There can't be that many reviews for The Replacement unless I'm totally
more than you think. More than you think.
Because I totally overcooked it last week with The Mighty Ducks didn't have nearly as many as I thought. I'm going to say 140.
302.
Fuck, man. I
Yeah.
clearly undersold the popularity of this film.
Yeah.
Maybe I, okay.
10 stars.
Oh, it shouldn't be that many, but it will be. 47.
56.
Oh,
You're 9
close.
off. Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
close, pretty close.
Right, so this one was written in May 2022, titled Absolutely and Totally Fun. This was absolute fun from start to finish. I did not expect to have such a good time. The comedy was hilarious, especially the jail scene and the cheerleader scenes. Yeah, all right, this was written by a man. The character interactions touching, sizzling chemistry between the male and female lead, great football scenes and plays. Overall, really fun movie. Keanu was perfect as a one-time loser who has the potential, integrity, and character to be a hero. He's all heart. Hackman was great as always. All the casting and acting was spot on for me.
Fair enough. I mean, I disagree with the whole 10-star thing, but most of that stands up. In terms of 1-star reviews, this just doesn't feel like a 1-star film. That would be very harsh. But I'll go with like 7, maybe.
Oh, 14, double it.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah. So this was written in 2001, so pretty much on
the button,
right,
yeah. So basically,
button.
he's just rented it on DVD or VHS, and he's gone straight to his computer, his first ever internet.
So titled Unoriginal, Unsurprising, Complete Tripe.
Ooh, harsh.
I know. I would suggest that you not waste your money to see this movie, even if it's only the $2.50 it'll cost to rent it. The movie was completely terrible, from its grossly sexual and stupid depiction of women to its stunningly unoriginal plot. I laughed once during the whole movie. The rest was just ridiculous and disgusting. I am so sick of people making movies like this. Will they never learn? Everyone wonders why women are so insecure, why they're so concerned with their appearance, and why they complain about being treated as less valuable members of society. This movie answers all of these questions. Film like this reinforce negative gender roles. It's completely sickening. One would think that in this day and age, stereotypes like those found in this movie would lessen. C'est la vie. For a good movie, watch Miss Congeniality.
Oh, that was a political statement, wasn't it? Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
I think you've gone after the wrong movie, in fairness. They're strippers who are being cheerleaders. It was like, what do you kind of expect? Yeah, it doesn't have many great roles for women in this film, but it's a movie primarily about a male American football team. And Annabelle, I think she's depicted quite positively in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, you just have a problem with the strippers being cheerleaders. And I just have the idea. It's like, dude, don't watch The Replacements. Watch Miss Congeniality, which isn't a bad shout. I'd go as far as saying Miss Congeniality is actually a better movie than this. But I'm like, if you're in the mood for The Replacements, I'm not saying, oh, no, this is a great alternative. Watch Miss Congeniality instead.
You want to watch a film about American football? Fuck that. Go watch Miss Congeniality. It'll make you feel better. Like, hang on now.
If he was like, oh, don't watch this movie, watch like Any Given Sunday, I'm like, all right, fair enough. Like, I totally get that. But like you said, there's nothing to do with whether Miss Congeniality is a better film. It's just such a bizarre left field choice.
Go watch Star Wars. Go watch Die Hard instead.
Yeah. Yeah. Very strange. Very strange. Which leads us to our own ratings and recommendations. I'll go first. I suspect you might. I've gone back and forth on this. It's just about sneaking a 3, just by a whisker, and that is simply because of the cast. It's certainly not the direct. The football's shot relatively well. Other than that, I don't think the direction is particularly fantastic in this film. But Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman, for their part, just about elevate. And it's not just them, as I mentioned, the supporting cast, Rhys Evans, Jon Favreau, all those. They just about elevate the material to a 3-star. But yeah, I could have just as easily given this a 2.5, but I'll go with 3 just because of the cast. But it's fun. I enjoyed watching it. It has loads of problems. I don't think, last week I think we gave like The Mighty Ducks a 3. And that is because it's fundamentally a silly kids film, but that is a more consistent movie than this. And I know you're going to disagree. And I know it's going for a different vibe. I don't think it's anywhere near the quality of, say, Hoosiers, for instance. But it's fun all the same. I'm a bit of a sucker for sports films, so even though it is cliche, it's ticking all the boxes that I want ticked. And it is based on a true story largely, so it's like, what the fuck are you going to do? But yeah, 3 stars, and I'm not going to recommend it.
As much as I've spent quite a bit like tearing this apart and asking questions about the narrative and everything like that, I love how it makes me feel. It's a 4. It's definitely a 4. I really enjoyed this film. I've always enjoyed this film. And I would recommend it if somebody was looking for an American sports film. this would probably, sorry, an NFL film, this would probably be on top of the list of the one I would recommend people to watch. So yeah, absolutely, I would recommend it, and it's a 4.
Yeah, no, see, there's a whole bunch I'd recommend ahead of this, but like you said, I struggle to see past this fault at times, but it's still fun. It's like me saying I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not telling anyone not to watch this film. It's perfectly fine. I just feel like there are other sports movies I would suggest watching ahead of this. But as I said, not to say it's bad. And I don't think it was ever a massive. It wasn't like I was like looking back at this going, "Oh my god, I absolutely adored The Replacements." I had a bit of a soft spot for The Replacements when I watched it back in the early 2000s. And I still have a bit of a soft spot for it now. It's just, like you watch it in a different way. We're inherently being more critical because we're going to talk about it for a podcast. And all of a sudden, like they just keep piling up. You're like, well, that's a problem. That's a problem. And it just, like you said, still fun, but has its issues.
I love that.
But
sorry, no, I gave it a 4 and a recommend, and you went, "Oh, I accept your offer, but you're wrong. You're totally wrong, and this is why I think you're wrong. Now let's move on."
No. I'm not belittling your opinion at all. I totally get it because, like you said, it's all about a balancing act. It's like you say, especially with the sports film, so much of it is about how it makes you feel. Like that's the great thing about sports movies. We can all talk about cliche, and that's what you get. Critics are often especially critical of sport. When you look at like a disconnect between audiences and critics, you often get that in sports movies. Because critics are watching it as we might watch it for a podcast, where you're saying like, "Oh, I've seen this a million times before. This is an issue. That's an issue." But ultimately, sports movies are really how they make you feel at the end of the film. And if it manages to get you to that point, it's just like, especially at the end, you walk away and just like, "I had a great time." I think honestly, I might have felt more strongly, more positively on this film if they hadn't shit the bed with that final sequence. Which again brings it back to the score again. But anyway,
I like that song. I like it. I thought it was good. I thought it was really it worked well for the film.
I just didn't like it. But again, each their own. But you are wrong, obviously. So that's been 2000's The Replacements. Next week is my choice for the fourth and final part of our American Sports Season podcast.
Before you choose and make your pick, after doing this for 4 weeks and talking about Bob Uecker and you got baseball, if it's not what we think it is, you can move on right now.
Well, it is. It is that. It is absolutely that. We've been talking about doing this for ages. There are a whole bunch of other baseball, baseball films in particular. There's like a whole
there's fucking loads,
and there are loads of great, like even bad ones. Like exactly what you talked about there, like Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck.
I was going to say Mr. Baseball. I want to redo Mr. Baseball. I think
I am 100% on doing it. So yeah, we're going to do another American sports season at some point, and Mr. Baseball will 100% be the baseball choice. That's a perfect example of it's not a great film. It got savaged by critics. I fucking love that movie. I love that movie for all its faults. I absolutely adore that movie. And
the American in Mr. Baseball is Dennis Haysbert, who I'm guessing is part of the film in your next choice.
Yeah. So to get to the point, 1989's, it is 1989, I believe, Major League. The only problem with this is that you can't find this motherfucker anywhere. So you can't stream it, you can't pay for it, anything. However, Rob very kindly sent me up a DVD copy, but I did check before we started this podcast. If you just type in Major League full movie, the top thing on Google or whatever is on videos is actually it looks like a Russian website, so risk it as you will, but it looks like the full movie is there. So and you don't there was no like dodgy pop-ups or ads or anything. I just clicked on it, the full movie just loads up straight away. So if you are interested in watching it ahead of next season, just type in Major League full movie and you should be golden, because
you realize what you just did then as well.
You can't get it anywhere.
Do you realize what you just did then?
Promoted piracy?
No, well, promoted piracy, but also if you want to watch it and ready for next season.
Next season. I've watched far too many sports movies, obviously. This is a movie though I have not seen for donkey's years.
I know.
I'm gonna guess it's held up wonderfully. I cannot fucking wait to watch this film. And one of the reasons I haven't watched it is because you just can't find it anywhere. This is another movie where we talked about it last week. I'm just going to be an advocate for physical media again. The fact that the Mighty Ducks TV show has just disappeared. The fact that streaming services can just take stuff off and it's just gone. It's just fucking gone. And you're just like, you can't watch Major League legally, certainly not in the UK at the moment, which is an absolute crime. So again, strong argument for physical media, and I think a lot of people Sorry,
You
sorry.
can watch Major League 3 Back to the Minors on Amazon Prime legally.
Oh, that's going to be a big part of next week's chat. Now, you talking me through all the sequels, which I've never seen, of course, which I assume you've
I've seen them
seen.
all.
Of course, of course, of
I've
course.
recently watched Major League 3 Back to the Minors because I knew we would not do it on this podcast. You know,
Thank
so
fuck for
so
that.
I've saved
This is what
what you
people are
didn't.
really tuning into this podcast for. They're just like, Liam's not going to deliver the goods, but I bet you, like any podcast where they're just like, I'm pretty sure this movie's got like 6 streets of VHS sequels. Rob's all over him. Rob's all
Yeah,
over him.
absolutely.
That's
The other
that's the
thing
thing. Something
you
good.
need to mention physical media as well. The physical media that I sent you, my
Mhm.
own copy, was actually a region one, which
Yeah, yeah.
is an American
Mhm,
region.
mhm, mhm.
So I had to get a region one of this. I've had it for years,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I had to jailbreak my DVD. My God, we're breaking all the laws on this podcast at the moment, isn't it?
Well, I don't have that. I was because you set it up, and I suddenly realized I was like, oh, maybe I'll work on my consoles, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden you say, oh, I'll just play on my laptop, and then you're just like, wait, none of my laptops have disk drives. I just didn't realize. Luckily, we've got one old ass MacBook from like 15 years ago, which still has a disk drive. So it's going to take me about like I don't know. 15 minutes for that bucket to load up, but I did check. It is reading DVDs still, so I get to watch
Happy days.
Major League on that. So, but I'm not gonna lie, if it's easy enough for me to watch it on YouTube, I might just watch it there. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, thanks for listening in for the third part of our season of American Movie Sports Podcast. That was a very long sentence, the replacements. But do join us next week for 1989's Major League. If you want to watch it illegally, that's up to you. We're not suggesting you do, but if you wanted to, we have pointed you in the right direction. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up, dude?
Yeah, we've had an email off one of our listeners, actually a frequent emailer to us, contactor Stephen Dunn. So he's just titled it British Sports Movie Season. So he goes on to say, Dear Rob and Liam, as you've reached the halfway point of your American sports film season, I found myself wondering if a British one would be possible. You and I both, Liam, Stephen, you and I both. The first thing is deciding what classifies as a British sport, and after much thought, I've whittled it down to football, cricket, rugby, and bare knuckle boxing.
Oof, that was I wasn't expecting that fourth one.
Yeah.
Like sure, I was expecting like darts or something.
Secondly, given the scope of your podcast, the films have got to be from the 80s or the 90s. It's slim pickings, but here's what I've come up with. Playing Away, The Big Man, When Saturday Comes, and Up and Under. Okay, so they're the so
I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to rewatch any of those films.
Up and
British
Under,
sports are shit.
I have a soft spot for Up and Under only because it got me an A in drama because we did that
Fair enough.
as a
Fair
play
enough.
in drama.
And we do have two 80s and 90s. We could do was it Invictus? The one with Matt Damon with his slightly iffy South African accent.
Yeah,
About
but
the
British sports movies were going. That's
well, you
like
just said
American,
rugby.
South Africa. Yeah, but no, rugby, but specifically filmed in Britain.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough, fair enough.
Now, I'll admit the Liam Neeson and Sean Bean films here don't appear on the IMDb known for list, but we do get Neil Morrissey doing Gene Hackman and starring in two of these. If that isn't enough for you, Up and Under also stars EastEnders own Samantha Janus. Christ, even with my high tolerance of B movies, I can't convince myself that most of these are worth a watch. I certainly don't blame you both for skipping homegrown sports movies for those on the other side of the Atlantic. And then he goes on to say, speaking of B movies, I think it's about time Rob picked the Nemesis or Project Shadow Chaser. Liam hasn't spent enough time in the world of direct-to-video, and I'm sure he could learn to appreciate it. Joss Diplomatic Immunity Ackland is in Project Shadow Chaser, so maybe that's enough to convince him. In the meantime, I'm off to watch the replacements ready for next week's episode.
God bless
Stephen,
him. God bless
mate,
him.
I'm all for straight to DVD ones, mate, and I've had Nemesis on the line. Nemesis 1, 2, 3, or 4. I don't know yet. I mean,
Amazing. Well, out of those, I can assure you that one of those is much more appealing than the other. Bring in Nemesis, bring in the straight to VHS stuff. I love like some of these films I've never seen before, and they've nearly all been absolute gold to one extent or another. I'm not sure about the British sport. So, in fairness, with British football, what I would do is rather than going for a traditional sports movie, I would go for a hooligan film. I would go for something like ID. Like ID is like a really good film about
not Green
hooligan
Street.
culture. Or Green Street would be loads of fun. Green Street is. I can't decide if Green Street is good or a complete piece of shit.
What about Green Street 2, where only one of the guys, Ross McCall, who played the pilot in the first one, ends up in prison and then has a fight with Graham McTavish, which is a great film. Or Green Street 3, where Scott Adkins teaches, yes, Green Street 3, where Scott Adkins is the brother of one of the guys who got murdered, again from West Ham, and teaches all his guys how to do mixed martial arts for an underground football hooligan tournament.
I mean, I kind of want to watch it. Is that one called Stand Your Ground?
Yes.
I don't know why I always remember. I just remember seeing the tagline, Green Street, stand your fucking ground.
I think that's number 2.
Or whichever one that is. I just always remember
the Americans. So Americans know it as Green Street Hooligans, I believe.
Okay.
We just know it as Green Street. So Green Street 2, Stand Your Ground, and Green Street 3, Never Back Down.
Never. I mean, it literally sounds like a martial arts movie.
Yeah.
It literally sounds like a martial arts movie. I mean, if we're going to do a British sports season, we absolutely have to do Green Street and then spend most of the podcast talking about the subsequent sequels. I think we might just do Green Street 3. That sounds much more interesting. But I still think British sports season it's a stretch. We just do not do sports movies well. We just don't. Yeah. I don't want to watch a cricket movie. I don't want to watch a rugby movie. It's just, let's just stick it with American. American sports are just so perfectly suited.
They're so cinematic. They're so cinematic.
The sports inherent. Like I said, like even if you hate baseball, there's nothing more like cinematic than bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, hit a home run. Like everyone gets a home run. You don't need to get all the rules. You're just like, when you hit a home run, the lights exploded. I'm pretty sure they won the game. It's absolutely fine. So yeah, it is what it is.
Can I end the Replacements episode with the synopsis for Green Street 3, Never Back Down? Can I do that?
Yeah, that would be such a Hey You Guys podcast thing to do. I insist that we end that way.
Danny Harvey, played by Adkins, has spent all of his life fighting in the playground on the football pitch and then heading up the West Ham firm, the Green Street Elite. After having turned his back from violence 14 years prior, Danny is thrust back into the GSE. Younger brother Joey, played by Billy Cook, is killed in an organised fight against a rival firm, and Danny is desperate to seek revenge for his brother's death. Danny returns to the GSE in his past, the only way he knows to find out who killed his younger brother.
Okay, I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you have been listening to the Hey You Guys podcast. See you guys next week. Cheers, bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Hey, you guys!